Mesmerizing, the subtle dance that happens when someone with avoidant tendencies first contemplates falling in love. It's like peering through a kaleidoscope, fascinating and dizzying all at once. In our discussion, we'll explore 7 tests avoidants do before falling in love and how to hack them. And along the way, I shall reveal some illuminating stories and examples that just might spare you a broken heart, or a broken lamp, if the tension grows too fierce. Let us begin with a scenario. Imagine a stormy night. Lightning cracks the sky and rain lashes your window. You sit there, anxiously awaiting his call. After all, you've been dating for months and everything seems splendid, except for that unwavering commitment that never arrives. The phone remains silent. Perhaps you fear the worst, that he's disappeared into his own private fortress, never to be heard from again. Yet within that fortress, he's not always cold or dismissive. He may simply be orchestrating tests you never knew existed. 7 of them, in fact. Here they are, exposed and decoded. 1. The consistency test. We begin in the bright corridors of everyday life, where routine can be dull but also comforting. For an avoidant individual, consistency is gold. After all, unpredictability has been the cause of so much anxiety in their past. Each shift in your behavior, whether you change your hairstyle, alter your schedule, or seem slightly off-center, sends sirens wailing in their mind. Why? What's different? Is there a hidden danger lurking? They're not intentionally trying to be suspicious, mind you. They're just scanning for cracks in the foundation, bracing themselves for a betrayal. To hack this test, demonstrate genuine reliability. No need to become a rigid automaton who never surprises them with flowers or a spontaneous weekend getaway. Rather, keep the core of who you are steady and forthright. If something changes, because life does that, bring it into the open. Explain calmly. Show them that your boundaries are solid, that your respect for yourself remains unwavering, and that even if you are whimsical on occasion, you're never random in a way that threatens their sense of security. The independence test. Picture an old orchard behind a country cottage. Each tree stands on its own, bearing fruit, soaking up sun, surviving storms. Imagine if 2 strong oaks tried to fuse into one trunk. Not a pretty sight, is it? Avoidants are particularly sensitive to the fear of being entangled, losing their individuality. They want a partner who can thrive, who can have interests, hobbies, ambitions, a life outside of them. And yet, in a paradoxical twist, they still want emotional warmth. So if, on a whim, they vanish for a few days to clear their head, see how you respond. Do you collapse into despair and wait by the telephone, gazing forlornly at the wallpaper? Or do you carry on with your own vibrant existence? To hack this test, display that fine balance between "I'm perfectly fine on my own" and "I enjoy sharing my world with you." Let them see you flourish, yet never become so distant that they suspect you've forgotten them altogether. Offer them a steady sense of companionship rather than a tidal wave of need. They'll appreciate the space to breathe, and in turn, they may just find the courage to step closer next time. 3. The pressure test. The joy and terror of emotional closeness. For an avoidant, it's like stepping into a scorching desert, craving the warmth but also risking dehydration. The moment things get serious, you might see them run for the hills, or so it appears. Their heart tells them, "This is lovely," but their mind screams, "Danger! Turn back!" The trick is to show them you don't plan on caging them like a rare bird. Keep your vision for the future in plain view. Yes, you want commitment or partnership in time, but don't smack them with a sudden ultimatum. Marry me or else. Provide them with the comfort of knowing you both have the same map, but you won't force them at knife point to follow every road immediately. If you give them room to set a gentle pace and keep your own boundaries in play, they'll often push past that fear far more readily. They must trust that closeness won't cost them their identity. Do that, and the pressure cooker cools considerably. The vulnerability test. If the pressure test is the crackling of the furnace, vulnerability is the tender core. Even the thought of unveiling deep-seated insecurities can send an avoidance heart into an internal stampede. It's not unusual for them to share something deeply personal one evening, and by morning, recoil in terror. To hack this test, you must be respectful with whatever secrets they entrust you with. That does not mean drowning them in pity or, heaven forbid, using their vulnerability as a bargaining chip. Instead, show empathy laced with quiet admiration. I respect what you've been through. Thank you for letting me in. That's all. Then give them the gift of space to process. It's a bit like lighting a candle in a dark room. Too much sudden brightness, and they'll shield their eyes and run. When they do open up, reciprocate in a manner that shows you trust them as well. Reciprocity deepens the bond, but allow them time to steady themselves afterward. If they vanish for a day or two, resist the urge to interpret that as rejection. They're simply catching their breath. 5. The crisis test. Stress reveals the true measure of any partnership. For someone with avoidant traits, crisis can feel both exhausting and strangely familiar, like returning to a battlefield they once fought on. They want to see if you'll charge in recklessly, creating more chaos, or remain calm enough to be an ally. Imagine a broken car on a lonely highway. The avoidant partner kneels in the mud, attempting repairs. Do you stand there cursing the heavens, shrieking about how hungry you are, how cold, how utterly inconvenient this is? Or do you quietly fetch the tools, hold the flashlight, and keep them company with unwavering calm? To hack this test, offer stability and solutions instead of raw panic or helplessness. Become a fellow strategist. Ask, "How can I help?" Or if you're not mechanically inclined, simply provide moral support and keep your wits about you. Avoidants fear that if you crumble during a crisis, they'll be forced to bear everyone's load alone. Show them they're not alone, and watch your bond strengthen. 6. The social integration test. Now we stroll into the labyrinth of social circles. Friends, family, colleagues. People with avoidant tendencies often compartmentalize their networks. Maybe there's an old friend who only knows half their life story, a close sibling who knows another quarter, and so on. When you appear, they worry these boundaries will collapse. They observe how you blend in. Will you inadvertently reveal intimate details to Aunt Mildred, or start a wild rumor at the office Christmas party? More than that, they wonder if you'll lose yourself in their world, relinquishing your own identity. The sweet spot here is to integrate politely, with respect for the structures they've built. Ask them, "Anything I should avoid bringing up with your mother?" Show courtesy. Do not bulldoze in with a bullhorn and an agenda. Simultaneously, keep your own social ties intact. Let them see you can coexist in their sphere without vanishing from your own. 7. The time test. At last, we arrive at the most enduring hurdle. The ultimate challenge for avoidance is believing that trust, once earned, will remain steadfast. This final test demands patience. After all, genuine trust is more than a fleeting spark. It grows like a tree, ring by ring, season by season. If you demand immediate permanence, an ironclad promise after mere weeks, they may recoil, convinced you're trying to snatch away their freedom. This doesn't mean you should give them an unlimited timeline, of course. Healthy relationships thrive on shared goals and mutual respect for boundaries. So state your time frame openly, how long you're willing to wait before a firmer commitment, how you envision the progression. Let them know you won't press them recklessly for a vow, but you won't dangle in limbo for eternity either. Clarity and self-respect on your side will help them navigate their own uncertainties. So there they are. 7 tests avoidance, do before falling in love and how to hack them. Each one circles around the theme of trust. Trust that you'll remain steadfast. Trust that you can handle emotional intimacy without demanding they discard their own identity. Trust that you'll be an ally in storms and a complement in calmer seasons. Through consistency, respectful distance, gentle vulnerability, crisis cooperation, social tact, and the wisdom to allow time for real trust to blossom, you can indeed weave a strong and authentic connection. But do remember, if you find you're stumbling on too many of these tests, ask yourself if your own boundaries, your own sense of self, need a bit of tuning. Love flourishes best when both souls come to the table complete, or at least committed to growth. Approach these tests not as a burdensome obstacle course, but as a roadmap to build a deep, lasting bond, one that can bear the weight of all the storms and celebrations yet to come. If you travel that road with honesty, grace, and gentle humor, you might just discover that even the most steadfast, avoidant heart can learn to trust, and in time, to love you in all your glorious, independent, vibrant wholeness.
If you believe this video might help someone dear to you, share it with them. A small gesture on your part could mean the world to a friend in need.